Welcome to episode 9 of True Crime and Sims. You may have heard the phrase, "don't take candy from a stranger." Perhaps your parents told you that in a bid to keep you safe. Though you may have heard these words, you may not have ever heard the tragic, terrible story behind those simple words. Before we get started, let's catch up with our Sims. Sorry to say nothing major or exciting happens in this episode. Clara and Kyle just carry about their normal lives as they work on raising their 2 kids. Logan's a toddler all through this episode. Scott's just a cute little nugget. Honestly, I think the babies on this game are so cute, but I think babies are cute in general. The other day, I might have had just a little bit of baby fever, but we're going to keep it under control because me and my husband, we're not talking about that yet. And unfortunately, we can't keep talking about cute little babies because this is true crime. We got to get into the case. And sadly, this one is about a missing child. This case happened some time ago. Nearly every account I've read have slightly different details. I've done my best to research only the truth about this case, but this went down in the 1870s. A lot of time has passed since then, and things have gotten confused or distorted for the sake of a good story. So I'm going to attempt to tell this story to the best of my ability, using only the truth. The story begins in 1874, in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. In a community called Germantown resided the Ross family. The neighborhood was extremely nice, an affluent place, and while the families enjoyed some degree of success and money, they weren't millionaires. 4-year-old Charley Ross and his 5-year-old brother Walter seemed to spend a lot of time playing out in their front yard. One day they were visited by a couple of men who decided to befriend the 2 young boys. According to one story, these men actually showed up every day for a week. When they showed up, they would be in their horse and carriage, and they would offer the boys candy. On July 1st, 1874, the men came back. They informed the boys that they had run out of candy. They offered to give the boys a ride to the store and money where they could buy their own candy and some fireworks. The 2 boys decided to get into the carriage. By some accounts, 4-year-old Charley began to cry almost the second the buggy began making its way towards the store. When the buggy came to a stop, the men offered the older of the boys, Walter, 25 cents and sent him into the store. With the 4th of July being just 3 days away, there was probably a nice supply of fireworks to choose from. Walter would also have his pick of candy, whatever 25 cents could afford him. While Walter was busy making his purchase, the buggy containing Charley would be driven away. Walter and Charley's father, Christian Ross, had initially thought his sons were playing in the neighbor's yard. When he saw the neighbor informed him that he had seen the boys riding in a buggy earlier that day. That same neighbor would find Walter and make sure he returned home safely. The kidnapper began to send ransom notes. The notes were all written by the same person and often contained multiple misspellings. Even simple words would be misspelled, leading to the belief that the note writer was illiterate. The kidnappers wanted $20,000 for the safe return of Charley. They also instructed Mr. Ross not to go to the police. Unfortunately, Christian Ross didn't have a choice. The Ross family may have lived in a nice house in a nice neighborhood. Christian Ross may have owned his own business, a dry goods store, but the family was flat broke. There had been a stock market crash the previous year in 1873, and this left the family in mountains of debt. Christian went to the police immediately. The story of Charley's disappearance quickly became a national headline. Charley's mother, Sarah, learned of her son's disappearance from the newspaper. Sarah had been out of town recovering from an illness. Her husband hadn't wanted to worry her, and so he didn't tell her. As a result of the heavy press coverage, citizens of Philadelphia began to pitch in to help find Charley. The citizens hired the Pinkertons, and the Pinkertons began printing posters and flyers bearing the image of young Charley and distributing them all around town. There was a song composed in Charley's honor to help bring awareness. The song became incredibly popular. I've even heard accounts of his face being printed on products, a predecessor to putting kidnapped and missing children on milk cartons. Funds were raised to pay the kidnappers. Despite following the kidnappers' instructions, the kidnappers never came to pick up the money. Eventually, the kidnappers stopped sending their notes entirely. No one knows what happened to Charley, but his parents spent the rest of their lives searching for their lost son. At one point, Christian wrote a book. He used the profits to help fund his search for Charley. For decades, people would come forward claiming to be Charley. Christian and Sarah would interview almost 600 people claiming to be their lost son. None of these people were able to convince them. After their deaths, Charley's siblings would continue to receive letters from people claiming to be their lost brother. Not too long after Charley's disappearance, a member of the Vanderbilt family was kidnapped. Despite trying to research this and assuming it would be a big headline crime, I actually couldn't find much information about this crime at all. However, cops were able to link these two crimes because of handwriting. Both kidnappings involved ransom notes, and cops were able to link these notes to a man named Bill Mosser. In an unrelated crime, 5 months after Charley went missing, Bill Mosser and his accomplice, Joe Douglas, decided to break into the home of Judge James Von Brunt. Charles's brother and next-door neighbor, Holmes Von Brunt, noticed something was wrong at Charley's house. Holmes, along with a posse of armed men, went to defend his brother's home. The men opened fire on the burglars. Bill Mosser was instantly killed. Joe Douglas was badly wounded. Realizing that he was close to death, Joe said there was something that he wanted to confess. Though many were present for his confession, his exact words were remembered differently by different people. Joe revealed that he and Bill had been behind the abduction of Charley Ross. Some remembered Joe saying that Charley was dead. Others thought he said that Charley was alive. Some people say that Joe said he knew the location of Charley Ross. Others say that he claimed only Bill really knew what happened to the boy. Regardless, the knowledge of what happened to Charley Ross likely died that day. Young Walter was brought in to look at the bodies of the two criminals. He recognized them as the people who had taken his brother. Bill Mosser suffered from a malformed nose, likely the result of either cancer or syphilis. Walter had initially told the police that one of the kidnappers had a monkey's nose. Many people began to believe that Bill and Joe were behind the kidnapping of Charley Ross, but no one knew what happened to the boy after they had taken him. An associate of Bill Mosser, William Westervelt, was eventually arrested for Charley's kidnapping. William was Bill's brother-in-law, as well as a former police officer. He stated that he believed Charley was alive, at least at the time of Bill's death, but he had no idea where the boy was now. Walter didn't recognize the man as having anything to do with the abduction. William would ultimately be found not guilty of kidnapping, but he would be convicted for conspiracy. By 1934, Walter revealed that, despite the fact that people were still coming forward claiming to be Charley, his family had long accepted that his brother was dead. By then, Walter was in his 60s, and Charley had been missing for most of his life. It has been almost 150 years since Charley's disappearance. It's likely that the world will never know what ultimately became of the little boy. Perhaps he grew up and had a family. Perhaps he never escaped from Bill and Joe's evil hands. Today there is an organization called the Charley Project. It serves as a database for missing people. Anyone who's missing for at least a year can have a profile added to the Charley Project. This organization was named in honor of Charley Ross. Charley Ross was the first American kidnapped for ransom. His disappearance may have inspired phrases like "don't talk to strangers" and "don't take candy from strangers," though this connection has never been firmly established. Even back then, parents everywhere became more diligent because of what happened to young Charley. What do you think is the most likely scenario about what happened to young Charley? You can give me your thoughts and opinions in the comment section below. This might sound strange, but I'd actually almost forgotten that you could do these photos of your Sims. I remember I used to take pictures of any time I had like a toddler or a child, and I'd kind of just decorate the house with pictures of the kids. I always really liked that feature of this game. I think it's really cute. I think one of the expansion packs has something that includes like the ability to take better pictures or something like that. It might even be something on The Sims 4. I just remember hearing something about it yesterday, I think. I don't know if you can tell, but I am feeling a little bit better this time around. For a few videos there, I basically lost my voice. Actually, over the weekend, I did lose my voice, and I got a little bit behind on my videos. Today, I've noticed I've had a little bit of trouble speaking, but not nearly as much trouble as I was having before. Some of these words kind of tripped me up, and you might have even noticed in the recording that I'm kind of tripping over some of these words. There was one sentence I recorded like 6 times until I finally got it right, and even then I don't really like the way I sound in the final version of that sentence. But things in life happen sometimes. In fact, because I was sick, my husband and I had to cancel this little trip we had planned to visit his family. I was actually kind of looking forward to the trip, and I felt like I was letting everyone down by being sick, and I didn't love that. But his mom was really understanding, and she's so sweet. I really wish you could assign cribs to toddlers and babies in this game, though I'm not even sure you can do that in Sims, or maybe toddlers, maybe not babies. It's been so long since I've played that game, but it would just make it so much easier if you could assign these cribs in this game. I like keeping the babies in the same room as the parents because I feel like they need more attention than toddlers, so it just makes it a little bit easier when they're in the same room. I know I didn't do that when Logan was a newborn, but technically we had a whole bedroom we could put him in, so I just left him in there, I guess. But with Scott, I just put him in here. I didn't really have room for the crib in the other bedroom. I'm probably going to put bunk beds in there when they get a little bit bigger, but I like keeping Scott in the parents' room so they can take care of him when he starts crying in the middle of the night. I wish his parents were more supportive of my efforts to keep him in the same room as them, but they keep putting him in Logan's crib. We all know this pain. Something that your Sims keep doing that you're like, stop it, please. Anyway, thanks for watching my video and listening to me ramble here at the end. If you don't mind, like, subscribe, share the video. That really helps out my channel. And we would love to see you back here for the next historic true crime. The next episode will be the 10th episode, and it'll be my last episode for a little while. My husband and I are about to go on vacation to celebrate our wedding, so I'm pretty excited about that. I have some great cases to review once I get back from our little trip, and I'm really excited to film those videos too. So I hope to see you back here when I come back myself. Until then, you can just enjoy watching Clara take care of Logan and Scott. And once again, I'd like to thank you for watching the video. See you next time.